Hi, I'm Jessica,
I'm Darcy.
and welcome to the Mother Daughter Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and read the notification bell at the bottom to let you know whenever we post a new video. Today we thought we'd take a little break from all of our health and wellness topics and talk about homesteading.
Yeah, and boy, it started a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, you were always, I guess, a mini homesteader, right? Because we always had chickens and a garden and...
Well, in my mind, I was always trying to get my family to adopt those things, to little by little. We had gardens, we had chickens. My husband was born in the city, so bringing him along was a little tough because, and I know a lot of you out there's maybe one person in the relationship who's like, yeah, let's go. And the other person's like, well, I don't know. I mean, even with our own chickens, he wouldn't even eat one of those eggs for a year. It took him a year to eat an actual chicken egg that came straight from the chicken that morning. He's like, oh, that's weird. And so that was
so common, though.
It is very common.
It's so common. It's comical.
My husband and I were talking about the tiny house thing. He's a carpenter, master builder, so we almost pulled the trigger on all that. I mean, we even put tape down in the living room and taped off that section and then put chairs in it and thought, okay, could we live in this space? We left
that tape stayed there for a while.
Yeah, it was months.
Yeah.
People would come over, their friends would come, what's all this tape for?
My parents had a weird idea to live in a tiny house. I don't know.
Which we never actually did that.
No.
But when the kids went on to do their things, we did the RV route for about 7 years, which was great. It gave us a lot of experience on, moving around, what it would be like to live in a tiny space. I'd say if you were thinking about that, get a used RV for a while first, because one of the key things being an RVer people, because we were younger than your average RV crowd. And the funny thing was that a lot of people would say you find out a lot about your spouse that you didn't know when you live in such close quarters. And it gives you an opportunity to really find out how much you like each other, because, and so we didn't pull the trigger on a lot of money on it. We bought like middle of the line, nothing too fancy, because we thought, well, we might go out for a while and think, yeah, no, this isn't working for us. but it worked out fine for 7 years, and it was great. But during that time, Jessica got married.
Yeah, started having babies.
And we were all, her and her husband, and we were all talking about it down in Texas. We were always looking for land.
Oh, we were always looking for a place for all of us to live on the same piece of property. That's been something we've talked about since the beginning of Alex and I's marriage.
Mm-hmm. So it's well over about 10 years.
Yeah.
And it just never seemed to happen. And it got frustrating, to be honest.
So frustrating. I was like, am I not ever gonna have little cute farm animals?
Yeah. And me too, because I had chickens and all the things growing up, and when she grew up, of course, in an RV, you can't have chickens. So.
No. I had chickens for a little bit in 2 houses we lived in Texas.
Yeah.
I had a couple chickens. They weren't the greatest houses for chickens, though.
No. Well, when you're renting, it never is, because you can't do anything really permanent to make it work out.
I always had like super redneck built. They worked, though.
They worked.
The chickens were fine. They laid eggs, so.
Well, the first coop I ever built, I built with your sister.
I don't remember.
And it was so. And when I say redneck, it's not a derogatory term. So if there's anyone who considers himself redneck, this is not derogatory at all. It's not racist. I'm not accusing you of being anything weird, I don't know.
But, I mean, we all know what we mean, right?
We know what we mean.
Okay.
So it looked pretty dumpy, and it was terrible. It wasn't square. The door kind of wasn't working, and everything's kind of off-keister. And I insisted that my daughter and I do it. My husband just was not happy about that. So after we did it, and he kind of came out and he looked at that and he said, yeah, no, this isn't going to be. I said, the chickens don't care. Because they actually don't. You can put them in cardboard boxes. They don't care.
I mean, right now, our chickens lay in 2 cardboard boxes.
Yeah,
they have beautiful nesting boxes.
I spent money on pretty nesting boxes that they won't even get in.
No, they like the cardboard box in the
boxes.
barn and then on the floor in the coop.
Yes, I give you breaks. But chickens don't care. They really don't care. So he ended up building me a new one, which then I called it the Taj Mahal for chickens because it was a really nice chicken house. But the journey, you know, once we left there, we went to Missouri, then we ended up in Texas. She did her thing. We're looking at property all the time, and we actually were out looking at property, but there was always something missing.
Yeah.
There was always something, well, this isn't going to work. The price was too high. Maybe life circumstances at the time, it just wasn't the right time for us or maybe them. It's never at the same time, you know, and it was
so hard.
It was so hard. And then we came up here and we're like, okay, yeah, this is it. And for 3 years, we went and looked at property, and we're always online looking at this. Oh, hey, did you see this? And did you see that? And, oh my gosh, look at that.
Now, she didn't have the worst time with rental houses here. And I have never had a rental house experience that was so horrible. And I've been renting my entire adult life until now. And in Texas, the first house Alex and I rented, our landlord was pretty nice. You know, they really didn't care. We did some improvements on the house. They didn't care. It made it look better. So then we moved into another house, our second rental house, and this house was great. My landlord lived across the street. I had like this awesome situation. She was fantastic. If there's ever an issue, like it was taken care of immediately.
Yes,
I never had to wait on anything. Like the pipes broke in the middle of the night, and I woke her up with a phone call, and she was on it. No questions asked. She was great. So my perception of renting was great, right? We moved up here, and we moved to Butte. Now we got here, we didn't have a place to live yet because no one would rent to you if you weren't there in person. So we came up here with all our stuff, and we had basically 3 options.
Well, actually, you guys came up here with just you and the older child.
No, we had the younger.
And okay, the younger.
You had the oldest.
And Steve and I and her oldest, we followed after 3 days to give them a chance to find a place to live.
So we would have a house by the time we got.
Because we were hauling the U-Haul.
Oh yeah. We just had what could fit in the Jeep, which is not much. And we hoteled it for like 3 nights.
Yeah, they had 3 days to find a place before we got there.
Yeah. So we had 3 options. There were only 3 places to rent that when we got there that we could find that were in our price range and had at least 2 bedrooms. So there were 3 options. 1 2-bedroom that we went to was like a house, but like apartments in a house, right?
Yeah.
So this was an apartment in a house. And, you know, you get your own living room, kitchen, entry, all the things. But the second bedroom was literally the size of a closet. You couldn't even fit a twin-size bed on the floor. Like, it was so small. And so, obviously, that was not going to work. So, we're like, okay, we can't live in this one. The second one we went to was a 2-bedroom. The neighborhood was super sketchy. Emily, it's not even like a neighborhood. But the houses around, it was super sketchy. The house itself had a bunch of water damage on the inside, and they were asking like $1,100 a month. Like, you're joking. So then we ended up going to this other house that was an apartment inside of a house. It had an exterior entrance on the back side, but then they had to go up really sketchy stairs to get to, or you could go through the very front door, which was never locked, up the staircase into your front door, because we were on the 2nd floor. So we ended up having to rent this one because it was the only viable option. And man, was it the worst choice.
It was.
A week after we moved in, there was only one other tenant. She lived below us. And a week after we moved in, they started renovating every other apartment. And I mean gutting and renovating. Yeah. I have 2 small children. My youngest at the time was 2.5.
They were still napping.
She was still napping until the renovation started. And then naps didn't exist anymore. 0 napping.
One time I was over there and she invited us over for dinner. So we're there in their what was considered the living room, which was really strange. So we're sitting there and she's in this tiny little closet of a kitchen and she's mixing something in the bowl, and they're pounding above, and a piece of the plaster fell right out of the ceiling into her bowl that she was cooking. That was fun.
And that's just like a small thing.
Oh,
At one point, like they were redoing the back stairs, or they were working back there, and it's just random construction dudes smoking, cursing, all the things right outside my apartment. I can hear everything. And then they were painting the main entrance and had scaffolding on the staircase and left it over the weekend. I couldn't use my back stairs. I had to go under the scaffolding with all their paint crap everywhere, smelling the paint fumes because there was no windows open, no fans, nothing. Anyways, that was a whole thing. With two small children. And oh my gosh, it was horrible.
So anyway, it was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. And we ended up being able to move out, luckily, because they took the boiler out of the basement, like very, very smart people. And so then when the winter hit -40, all the pipes froze and burst.
Right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas, we had no hot water. Or no water at all, like zero water. So after some coercing with the landlord from the property management company, had to convince her to give me my deposit back so I could move. Moved into a different house, which had its own set of issues. Nothing that bad.
But renting was very complicated.
Yes.
And even our renting experience was good in relation to our landlords were awesome. But the house itself, even though it was very nice inside in general, there were obvious things that we were concerned about. You know, the upstairs apartment, which was empty, I know there was water going on up there because we could see stuff happening, and any day we were thinking this whole ceiling was going to come down on us in our bedroom. So, you know, so we were in a hurry to leave. But the whole time, 3 years, we were online looking for a place, and
we found a place that we were going to rent. The owner had originally offered us a 2-year lease. And then the company that they rented through said that they couldn't do that. So we ended up signing a 1-year lease.
Yeah.
And we all moved into this bigger house out in the country together.
Yeah.
Which was hard, but good.
Yeah.
My husband and I and the kids all stayed in the basement. She had her bedroom on the main floor with the kitchen, her living room, our dining room,
Yeah.
and
we all kind of lived together.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
But
that part was hard.
It worked.
It worked. It was a good exercise, though.
But
I don't regret
it was
that at
so
all.
great for our business.
It was.
Because no one was carting stuff anywhere.
Yeah, because before when we lived separately, I was constantly loading up the car. Even in the winter when there's ice on the ground, I was constantly driving over to her house so we could get stuff done. Staying till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
And then have to drive home.
And then driving home with all the stuff to unload that I needed to do. And we did that for a couple of years. And
No. Oh, I guess it was 2 years.
Yeah, a couple of years. It was hard. But it was a good exercise because then you appreciate the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And moving up here, Steve and I, like them, no one would rent to you not being here. When we moved to Missouri, after the housing market crashed in Nevada, you know, Steve and I lost everything. The kids were teenagers, her and her sister. And I said, we got to move where we can work. And so we moved to Missouri, and we bought a house sight unseen, which everyone I knew thought, oh my gosh. And we didn't actually sign on the house until the Friday before the Saturday that we were leaving, because the other houses we had tried to buy had all fallen through. And so we were waiting for the DocuSigns, waiting to sign the papers, and everybody leading up to that, because we'd already rented our house, we already sold everything.
We had to go
We had to leave
somewhere.
on Saturday, and so people are like, well, what are you going to do if you don't have a house? I said, well, I guess we'll KOA it with the U-Haul truck.
Duh.
You know, and then we'll figure it out when we get there.
So you see where my street comes from. Oh, we'll figure it out. It's fine.
You know, it's just, you can't be afraid. And that's really why we want to talk about this, because I know a lot of people make plans, and you can't always wait for everything to be perfect.
And I really believe, honestly, and we've talked about this a lot, that we had to wait so long for property for animals because we were convinced we wanted goats.
Yeah.
We were convinced we were going to get goats and milk them because that's where our whole goat milk product line started was we found a raw milk goat lady out in Whitehall, and that's where we get our goat milk from. We're like, oh, we're gonna have goats, we're gonna have goats, we're gonna have goats. And it wasn't until we lived in that house together, the one before this, we really talked about it, and I looked into more things, and we realized we could do sheep.
And we also met that wonderful young lady, Broadwin, in the meantime.
Oh, yes.
Who had sheep already.
She doesn't milk her sheep, but she uses them for meat and wool.
And I would buy, her scans and mail them to her sister down in Texas, because she was crocheting, and I thought it'd be fun to have something that actually came from the sheep.
Because she spun it herself.
Yeah, Broadwin did. And so and what is the name of High Fleece?
High Fleece, yes. High Fleece and Goods.
Yeah, I think so. High Fleece and
yeah,
Goods.
she's on Facebook.
Out of Belgrade, Montana. She's wonderful, does wonderful work, is a wonderful artist. She is just amazing.
She takes such good care of her sheep. We actually bought a couple sheep from her when we started her flock.
Yeah, and so after we had that experience, that time together to spend, and and there again, us looking for a place. We were looking, okay, after we've had this experience of living apart, we had the experience of living in the same house, like literally all in the same house.
Well, we thought we were going to be able to buy that house.
We thought we were, because he was going to sell it anyway.
Because
but we were looking actually for a place where we would have a separate, like, mother-in-law suite or apartment for Steve and I, because, we're older. The little kids, I love my grandkids, but sometimes Gran needs some peace.
Yes.
And I just like my peace and quiet, so I can just go over and play, do that. And so we kept finding places that would have that, but they're way out of our price range.
Yeah.
Or they didn't have enough land.
Yeah.
So there's always something wrong with that. So it just goes to show you can't always have what you want. Don't be afraid to pull the trigger, because if you can make it what you want.
Yeah.
And so that's how we ended up here in this wonderful, wonderful community of Wise River.
Yeah, because this house hadn't been on the market for 3 years when we found it.
A definite fixer-upper.
The great thing, though, about a fixer-upper that we personally see is you can make it what you want. And you don't really feel bad about ripping things out, because it needs to be fixed anyways, or it needs to be changed, or whatever the case may be. You don't really feel bad about it because it doesn't already look fantastic. You already have to do it, so you can make it how you want.
Yeah. So this worked out beautifully, because here we are. We're sitting in what is considered a breezeway from the main house through here into a shop, but then leads to our apartment. So I can just scoot right across to her house without even being outside in the weather.
It's so great.
Right back over there. So, all these years, 10 years of waiting. I'm going to be 62 on Tuesday. And trust me, I really wanted to start this whole exercise a lot earlier in my life when I was younger and stronger. But the benefit of being with your family is I have Jessica, and I have her husband, and I have my grandson and granddaughter who are going to grow up to do the things that I might not be able to do anymore, or to assist me with the things that I need them to assist me with.
Yeah.
Instead of, because for a long time, Steve and I thought we would be doing this on our own when our kids were off doing their things. But the reality was, and I did think about this very much, was that there will be a point in my life where I can't do all those chores. And I know people who have done this in a later part of their years. That they retire, they go out and buy a piece of land, they start getting all the things they always wanted, and then within 10 years of them being on the property, they can't do all the work anymore. They have to hire it out, or the property isn't set up for other family members to live with them.
Or other family members don't want to live with them, which is so crazy to me, because I could not imagine my life without living on the same property as my mom.
Yeah, but I think part of it was all the time that we did spend together when you were young.
Yeah.
And then since
we
we've been doing
definitely
our business together.
bonded when I was in my teenage years, because I did competitive cheer, so we traveled a lot with that, just her and I.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was so much fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. And then the business is just, it's great, because she has her wonderful strengths and I have my strengths, and we just get to combine that. And
yeah, makes it fun.
Yeah, we learn so much from each other. Her, I learn more from, I feel like, than she does me. But
I don't think so.
No. I feel like you contribute more knowledge.
No, I think it's it's probably pretty evenly matched in different areas for sure. Absolutely, I would never discount that at all.
Well, I'll take the compliment.
Yeah, but basically the journey to get to the point that you want to get. We all have our dreams.
Yeah.
Don't be discouraged. That's the whole purpose of us sitting here talking about this.
Yeah. It can take 10 years.
It can take a long time. I mean, when Steve and I lost everything, we lost everything. We lost our retirement. We lost everything. We were down to our last $5,000, and I said, okay, family, we gotta move. We gotta move. This is all we can do.
This was right after during my freshman year of high school, because we moved that summer after.
Yeah.
I was the first one packed.
We were watching our friends and relatives around us walk away from their houses, short sales, all these things. Anybody historically, you want to look back to 2004 through 2011 and find out what happened there in Nevada specifically, because Nevada was the worst hit. It was a nightmare, and that's why moving seemed to be the better idea. It's just moving.
Yeah.
And having the faith that the Lord will provide us on the other end. Just like when they moved up here, didn't have a place to live. Steve and I moved up here, didn't have a place to live either.
Yeah.
So we had to come up and find a place. And everything we've done, you just sometimes have to sit back and say, okay, Lord, I'm going to do this because I think this is where I need to be, and I'm counting on it working out. Sometimes it doesn't exactly work out the way you think. But then you realize, oh, well, this was much better than what I thought. And it actually does.
It does work out that way.
It does work out that way.
And
More
it's funny
times than
because
not.
for 10 years, like we've said, like since Alex and I have gotten married, for 10 years we've been wanting this dream,
Mm-hmm.
and it just feels like everything happens for a reason, but it does. Like the Lord prepares you, and like for his job, it was really funny how it happened, our moving up here, because he's been trying to convince me to move to the mountains our entire marriage. And my mom was staying up in
We were in
Idaho, right,
Okay.
visiting some clients of hers in their RV. And we decided to take a 2-week vacation, which was really crazy for us because the way his job worked down in Texas, you don't get equal pay for vacation because he worked so much overtime. You only get like your regular pay. You don't get any overtime. So it was really a hardship, and we put most of it on credit cards. Don't come after me, Dave Ramsey people, but we put literally the entire trip on credit cards. And we had never actually had like a vacation before. And this was 6 or 7 years into our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Never had a significant vacation. So we took the vacation on credit cards, and I'm totally fine with that. It wasn't a super expensive one because we camped at their RV park.
At our spot, so we already paid for that.
Yeah, we didn't have to pay to stay anywhere. We just stayed in the tent.
Yeah.
But then it got infested with earwigs, so we actually stayed on their living room floor in the fifth wheel.
It was crowded.
It was very crowded. So worth the trip, though.
So worth the
We
trip.
drove up there, and we actually drove up through Montana. It was just so beautiful. And I remember how much I had missed the mountains and the snow. And it wasn't winter when we came, it was summertime. But if you've ever lived in the mountains, like you know how beautiful they look with snow on them.
Mm-hmm.
And just driving through Montana, through Idaho, we're like, okay, let's move. So this was the summer, and he started looking for work, and he was just applying everywhere. Everywhere in Montana. I think he applied in Idaho in some places. Yeah. Just apply. And he got a call from his now boss in January, and he's like, are you sure you want to move up here? And I think it was a FaceTime interview. He's like, are you sure you want to move up here? And he's like, yeah, I do. And so he's like, okay, well, you have a job here when you get here, is literally what he was told. So we're like, oh my gosh, it's happening. And this was January, okay? End of January. So we told nobody. Literally nobody knew we were even looking except for my parents. Because we had talked about moving to different places in Texas before, and nothing really worked out. So this time, husband and wife, we kind of like, you know what? Let's just keep it between us just in case it doesn't happen. We don't want to, say anything. So he got the job. We're like, okay, now what? Okay, so we needed money to move, right? So we waited for our tax return in March is when we ended up moving. So we didn't tell anyone until a month before we were moving. We told my best friend at the time and our really, really close friends. And then that's it. We didn't even tell family yet because family was also connected with his job.
Right.
And we didn't want word to get around in our small town. So only our friends knew. And then once he put in his 2 weeks at work, then we told everybody else we were leaving in 2 weeks to move to Montana. There weren't some happy people.
Yeah, they were.
But a lot of, I mean, I lost a really good friend over it. She wasn't happy that we even waited till the month before. But you know, when you have a secret with your husband, it's with you and your husband. So I wasn't gonna break that. Unfortunately, the friendship didn't work out. I don't regret not telling people sooner.
Mm-mm.
I don't, because at the same time, it still could have not worked out, and we didn't want to cause that stress for us and our friends, family, whatever. So, anyway.
But in reality, they're not that good of friends if they're going to get that upset with you for moving and
True.
improving the life of your family.
I know, and we did it to improve the life of our family because he worked 50, 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
We hardly saw him. That's why we only wanted 2 kids, because he never got to do anything. And so then we moved up here, got a better paying job, only works 40 hours a week, home for dinner,
Home every weekend.
not on call. It's just such a great family life that we have up here now. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't do anything differently. Nothing.
Then, of course, they move, and I'm like, you took my grandchildren to Montana. So I look at my husband, I said, honey, we're moving to Montana.
It wasn't even a discussion. She was like, we're leaving.
He wasn't too keen on it because, you know, we already moved away from the cold. You know, Nevada was cold, and Missouri was cold. We moved to Texas to get away from the cold, and now we're going even further where it's even colder. So he was not a happy camper at all, but he's adjusting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we moved too.
They sold the RV. No, you left it down there.
We left it down there for a while, and then now it's for sale down in Yuma. But
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we still like our trips to Yuma to see friends to kind of get out of the cold once a year when we can.
Yeah.
So we try and do that. But yeah, it was the bottom line is don't be afraid.
Don't be
If
afraid.
you have a dream, it's okay. If it takes a long time, it's still okay.
Because the Lord's just preparing you for that dream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything in our rentals and all the things that we kind of just prepared for, the whole living together situation, and now we're separated, which is great. I think it all really helps us communicate better. I feel like most of us, and it was funny because we moved here, we had a move-in date, and once we had our move-in date to our new house, I put the deposit on all 7 of our sheep, and I picked them up the following week.
Yeah, the week that
after we moved in.
Yeah, Steve and I weren't even here yet. We were living in the RV for a while out front because we had to remodel.
It was. My husband was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "You got to get that fence up though, like now."
But it was fun. Was it stressful at times? Absolutely.
Yes.
Did we feel like we were behind the ball a lot?
Yes.
Absolutely. We're not gonna pretend like it was all yay, fun, everything's perfect.
But I still wouldn't change a thing.
No, because you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about your family, you learn a lot about everything that you're doing, and everything is an exercise. I try to think of even hardships in our lives.
Yeah.
It's all an exercise. It's an exercise to prepare you for the next thing. Yeah. And so even when you're in hardship, biblically, hardship is probably one of the best things that can happen to us, so that we are prepared for other things later. So we can help other people in hardship. Because you can't be empathetic with somebody if you've never had those experiences even remotely.
Yeah.
So, it's a blessing all the way around. The hard parts, the good parts, all the parts.
All the parts.
Mm-hmm. Most people who have lived at least as long as I have, they've had their share of hard parts.
Yeah.
And they can look back at them and think, wow, that was hard. But yay, I got through that, and look what I learned along the way, and I'm better.
Yeah.
So we can choose to be better. We can choose to work through it. Or we can choose to whine.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
It's like I tell my kids all the time when they're in their grumpy, life sucks mood. I'm like, well, your mood is a choice. You can choose to be happy even though your situation kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about some things, and you just kind of have to be like, okay, well, this kind of sucks, but I'm not going to let it get me down. The Lord's going to provide with whatever I need, and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's just...
And that's what you do. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And
that's what we encourage others to do.
We would like to encourage you all to do the same.
Yeah.
And if you're one of the people who, hey, you're good to go and you are like that, we want to hear from you. If you're not and you might need a word of encouragement, shoot us a message. We're all about encouragement.
And come this spring/summer and fall when weather's not really, really cold, we are going to do our best on making more videos outside on our homestead.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
With the chickens and the sheep and
all the things.
Anything that we're doing. We have lots of plans and dreams for the property, so we'll see what we get accomplished this year. And hopefully we'll be able to take y'all along for the ride, and it'll be fun.
We hope.
Hopefully.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video and ring the notification bell at the bottom.